Forecast become more dovish. And I think if it does become more dovish, that would be one of the triggers that could help us not break these lower lows.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, if the Fed speech after the rate announcement, yeah, it definitely has the power to move things. So right now they're expecting the probabilities that the market has priced in here is that like March ish is approximately when we'd start to see a potential first reduction in the rates. So, which I could see that being very possible. I mean, I hear what Ryan, what you're saying. I'm kind of with Donald. I don't think they really give a crap about getting the rate to 2. Like, I think they're okay with the rate sitting, about where it is or close, like 3.
Yeah, I mean it's not 7, it's not 8, right?
Yeah.
It didn't get anywhere close to like the rest of the world, that was in the 30s, 40s, 50s, right? So I think they did what they wanted to do, and yes, they probably have 2 as a target, but it's not, sitting at 3s is not that big a deal.
No,
right?
and a big part of it too, when you look at numbers, is housing, right? Makes up a huge part of what's going on with like CPI and those numbers. And they can't do anything about that. Like, that's already where it is. Mortgage rates like approaching highs, right? It's at 7 and change, and houses are approaching highs in value. So, I mean, nothing they do is going to change that.
Yeah, they're not going to make the builders build faster, so the inventory is kind of stuck at what it's at.
Yeah, right.
Well, I know. I mean, they released a story. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Like 60% of the people that have a house right now either bought or refinanced when it was in the 3s.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit of me? Yes, I could sell my home right now and make 100%. Right, I bought my home 3.5 years ago. And I bought it completely brand new from a builder that there was no movement at all, right? So I got it for a steal, right? And now it's worth double what I bought it for. I don't want to sell my home for double to then buy a home that I'm going to have a double monthly mortgage payment because that other house is going to be more expensive and the rate's going to be double, right? So like if I bought my home right now, at the rates right now, my monthly mortgage payment would be close to $6,000.
Yeah.
Right. I'm paying under 3.
Well, the other thing is too about the housing that confuses me a little bit, and I'm kind of just, there's nothing I can do except wait for more data to come out, see how it plays out. Is we talked in here, and Donald was on, and I talked with him about people buying houses and how this doesn't seem sustainable. And he's got buddies that are in the business, and I do too. I know people that own construction companies and plenty of people in the realty business. And he was mentioning how a lot of people are putting tons of money down, which is probably true. But there's also been data that's come out that's shown, and I think I have the chart somewhere, I'll look for it, that shows that a large percentage, like well over half, the people that are buying homes, the mortgage is more than half of their income. It's like 60 something percent of their income or something like that. Right. Which even at 50% of your income, that's not sustainable either, right? Like, that's not a good ratio. And you shouldn't buy a house that costs you half your income.
I mean, that's how you got into the whole 2008 thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you make if you make, $6,000 a month, let's say, and your mortgage is 3, how are you going to afford groceries for your family, utilities, taxes? Like, I I don't think that you can, which is why banks have been reporting as well that consumer savings is tanking and expected to run out, um, and get to like lows by October, I think is what they were predicting. So all that excess money we had is disappearing. So I don't know what's going to happen in housing, but I think something's
Yeah.
got to give.
Something's got to give, right? And I think the easiest thing to do, right? I'm not sure if we're going to get a big pullback in housing prices, right? I just don't see, like a 20% pullback in housing prices. I just don't think it's going to be able to get there. People are still eating up houses at 700 when it should be 5 or 4, right? But the rate is the only thing that they can do.
Yet I think housing prices, though, that's where my struggle was that I'm saying. I think I agree. I don't know how low it'll get back to. But at some point, something's got to give here. All this huge percentage of the population whose mortgage is close to half their monthly income or more, that's not sustainable. I mean, how can you pay for a house if it immediately eats up half your paycheck? Like,
Yeah.
There's no way to keep up with that. Once your savings runs out and your credit's maxed, and then your car breaks down or your AC unit goes on your house or whatever, like, you're screwed.
I get pissed when my wife puts a couple $100 on the credit card, because I won't let her put anything on the credit right now. Like, I have zero credit debt, right? Other than mortgage and stuff but no consumer credit debt, none. And I'm like, there's no way, because I'm not paying 30% to buy, well, if she's shopping at Victoria's Secret, yeah, you can put that on the credit card.
Then maybe I'll make an exception.
Right, that's okay. That's a win-win. But like anything else, right? Like, she was like spending stupid stuff, put a couple $100 on the card, and it was because her other card didn't work. But I'm like, no, don't. Like, that's just the worst thing that you can do right now, because I just, it's just so we're in weird territory.
Yeah.
And it is a lot. It's getting a lot like 2008, at least for the housing market. Everything else is different, right? Because there was a lot that went into that housing market crash, with the bad loans and them bundling the way that they did. And I'm sure they're still doing it, right? But I don't see them approving as many bad loans as they did back in 2008.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something fishy's going on is all I know. I don't know what's right.
Is.
I mean, because I have friends saying the same thing Donald's saying, that people are putting lots of money down. And then I have people telling me also these new builds, these new homes that are built by, all these big home builders that we're talking about, Lennar and all them, that a lot of times they're taking less than ask because they're trying to get rid of these things as fast as they can and keep building. So I have buddies who bought new homes and bought them for less than the list price. And then at the same time, like you were talking about with loans, we hear about credit tightening, should be harder to get loans. But then I see data that suggests a huge percentage of the population that's buying, the mortgage is half their monthly income. Well, how'd they get approved for that? Like, what lender approved them to spend half their income on a home? I have no idea. Something weird's happening. I don't know what. But
Yeah. Nice pop. Skiddly doo wop by pop. Nice job on that Nvidia, Kian. That was a great play.
yeah, it's a good trade. That's a good one.
And I'm holding my Google, even though it's technically bear flagging right now. I'm gonna hold it just because it's Google. It's at an anchor VWAP. I have until mid-September, so I've got time, and I am expecting us to kind of at least have the yin to the yang, right? Get back up to in like the SPY to like the 440s, right? See what we do, if we create that head and shoulders or not, and if we start breaking down, I will short the shit out of the market.
Yeah, I'm expecting some movement back as well. I would think. I would guess.
When is I'm gonna look forward to see what else is coming up in the next couple of weeks.
I don't think anything.
Well, we got Jackson Hole next week.
Yeah, you get Jackson Hole, and that's about the only big mover. Just regular data that comes out all the time. Jobs, CPI.
Until we get back to CPI, but that's mid-September. So Jackson Hole is probably the only thing that's really, unless, because we haven't seen anything crazy out of the data. It's been pretty consistent. Unemployment's been kind of bouncing around, but I don't think that's a big, nice job, Ian. That's a nice win right there. My D-Dog, I might have to sell at the end of today because that one's a little shorter. I've only got 14 days left on that one, and that one's up. Oh shit, it's up like 60%. Nice. Because I added down here yesterday, so. God, it's got such a nice gap above, though. Ooh.
It sure does. But you can always load in with.
That's a big gap.
Yeah, but you can always catch if you want to play the gap play. You can always load in with shares or different options that are long dated on a dip in the morning or a slight pullback to the top of that support or something.
That's a nice little pop in D-Dog. Came back to that 89.30 level and then just.
Well, I'm still holding all these longs, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, me too.
I'm holding them for now. I really want to see the SPY get up, and I want it to get honestly up over. I had a line drawn. I can't remember what it was, but the mark was now that I wanted it to get over. Oh, I wanted it up I think over 438 maybe or something, or 430. Where was it? Let me look.
The only thing that's really disappointing in my account right now is Baba. That's the one disappointment that I have right now. But I got December's, right? So I've got like 100 some odd days left on those contracts, and it's Baba. That thing moves. So
yeah, if we could get up over 437.23 and hold, and maybe heading into next week, start pushing a little, get over.
And my stop out is going to be this. If it breaks this 80, this trend line down here, this 86ish, 87ish, I will stop out because that if it breaks this trend line, it's not going to be a pretty picture for Baba. But
oh yeah, and Baba, yeah. Yeah. It won't be. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Hopefully it stays up. It has good support. Like, I mean, right where it's at, it came off support, but
Yep.
it has support down to 86. It's pretty strong. I don't know. If China could get their act together.
You know, that's a good point, Ian.
I'm not going to add here personally, just because my Baba, because mine are real long too. They're Januaries, and I have shares also at a lower cost than my options. But the options are Januaries. I've already made some ads, and I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'd actually prefer to add to my Baba. The way I'm going to play longs now, at least right now, is when it goes up, I'll play the long. So I'll add to my position if we get over the next key VP for any chart and hold. And even though the options will cost more at that point, when we've reclaimed a key VP that we fell through, that's a pretty bullish sign, right?
Yeah, that's a good ad spot. Yep.
So I'm happy to add there, even if it's costing me more than it would today, because it's safer.
Yeah, because I added to mine the day before yesterday. So, you know, my last ad is, you know, a little negative, but, you know, not by much. So, you know, if it comes back to, you know, this trend line is going to be my last ad, and then a break of it is my stop. Yeah, that's the hardest thing to do, is add to winners, right? Because it is more expensive,
But I mean, once you start doing it, then it's makes sense. Like once you start doing it and it works, and you're playing reclaims, breakouts into gaps, and you do it and it works, then you can see it kind of makes the other side and what you have done in the past seem ridiculous. Like, at least for me personally, because I know there were times where I kept adding, and I'm just like, I'm taking more losses on the way down. And it's like, and they didn't turn, and I didn't win. So when I look at that and I think, well, why the hell did I do that when I could have added at this breakout, retest, strong VP? Worst case is it starts falling back into that VP. I cut it instantly because I know that thesis is busted. So you haven't had success with that yet. Once you start doing it, then start doing it more, doing it right, playing reclaims, retests, gap plays. It can be
one
pretty.
thing that I've been thinking about doing, which it may be a good time, you know, in a couple of weeks here, is kind of doing a series of, you know, as we start getting new people in and start doing advertising after next weekend. I might do like a session on, you know, every day at a specific time, you know, go through the training section, right? And then have a discussion after it, so that way new people, you know, will be able to go through the training with us and actually do it. And it's, you know, just a good review, right? Like I do that every once in a while on my own.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of good training in there for sure. So, you know, we could play it and then, talk about it. I mean, there's tons of good videos to be played. Pretty much everything Donald records is worth listening to.
And I do it. I mean, all the time. I still watch videos. because some issue I caught myself doing, or AMAT, huh? That's one I should have played today. Look at that thing. Nice pullback on great earnings.
The real question will be, what do we do now heading into power hour? Because market can really start getting a push, on these Fridays like this one. In the last hour, it can fall apart or start pushing. You can get those big candles.
It could.
I mean, I'd be okay with it just continuing to slowly kind of grind just teensy bit higher, just little bits, and just hold and close out.
Yeah,
As
because
long as it doesn't fall.
if you look at the VP just from today, right, like on a 15-minute chart, we're right in that VP, right? So if we start breaking down this trend, the trend line from today, it's probably not going to look too good.
Nope, it's not. I'm gonna have to.
Because then I think people will start going, oh crap, and really start selling. The only thing that we have is like really just this bottom to hold us from the 420s, even lower. Yeah, and Kian, in the daily, I know we didn't get one out today because Donald was out. He had to have, not that he had to have, he chose to do. What about Avery? Go ask her. And make sure that she's dressed. Sorry, my daughter just walked in. He had to do what do you call it? Relationship day, I guess you could say. So him and his wife were spending time. The kids are at school. Right. But if you look at yesterday's, date day. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what he called it. It was date day. If you look at the DDD, it has earnings whispers at the bottom that calls out the major earnings in the morning and at night. Help her get dressed so that she can play too. Yeah, you can take 3 minutes, help your sister get dressed. I'm doing important things like yapping. Okay, go. So crazy. Kids. I want to go back to the beginning. All right, I'm going to cut the recording. That was a good one. We should have recorded from the beginning, but
that's all right. Next week, remind me